There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP Morning Show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, tudo bem? Munson here from expatsportugal.com with the Good Morning Portugal live stream. How are you this morning? Yeah, let's mix it up with a bit of Portuguese today. And as you can see from the ticker tape below, I'm enjoying this. I'm giving you a little bit of a heads up at what happens at 9. We have a nice little warm up, don't we, from 8:30. Check it in, make sure everybody's all right. You know, on the old folks intercom, push the button. You're right. Yeah, I'm all right. And everybody shouting out to each other. Love it. And then at 9 o'clock, ask anything about Portugal Wednesday. Wednesday already, February already. This is crazy, isn't it? Is it me or is there a quickening going on of some kind? Alarming in one sense, but just so full and rich and fantastic, all that's going on at the moment. An exciting time to be alive, isn't it? I hope that's your experience as well. And look at this, the sunshine for you this morning, out with the dogs this morning, and there's some Portuguese sun for you right there. With the distant sons of Mars on just the sunshine, the Portuguese sunshine. It's a beautiful day out there. It feels like summer, I've got to say. The birds are singing. The sky is blue. The cold mornings of the last couple of days have gone. It's just a slight chill in the air, but it's absolutely beautiful here on the Silver Coast. And there's some Portuguese sunshine for you to worship right there for you on the screen right now. And if you're listening on the podcast, I hope you can feel that in your ears as well. Hear your eardrums being slightly warmed as they are being massaged by me speaking to you as well. Hello, podcast listeners. How are you? Doing it to you in your ears since 2017. Thanks to all the podcast listeners. Really appreciate you. And the unsung heroes, I think, of this community. So always good to receive an email from you if you're in the podcast community. And, of course, the community here on the show in the mornings. Who's in this morning? Andrew's here. Eusebio's here. Baldilocks, Moaz. And Thunder, of course, day 274. Duck, duck. 222 today, isn't it? Whichever way you look at it. If you're an American or a European, the date is 22 and then 2022. Fantastic. Shame it's not a Tuesday, but I suppose it is. We've had 2 Tuesdays this week, yesterday and today, with all the twos there. Numerologists and people who get excited by numbers, I'm sure we'll be having quite a day, a field day for them this morning. First in this morning was Eusebio. Good morning to you, mate. Bon dia, pessoal. And we'll be doing, I think this will be of interest to you later on. Michael Heron answering all the questions that come in about Portugal, life, culture, language. He's a pretty cunning linguist as well, it has to be said. He joins me at 9, and I'm sure he'll have something to say about the politics. I've got a great TikTok video to share with you that touches on those hot button words, socialism, and communism and others, and it's a really good, really funny little sketch about Portuguese politics and how Americans might understand and hear it. So that to come, and I'll play that when Michael's here because I think he'll appreciate that as well. So let's see what you've been saying this morning. Oh, before we go there, thank you, James, from the production team. Reminding me there's been some news that I've been overlooking. The processionary caterpillars are in early, and this is from James on Facebook, I believe. Saw this posted on the Facebook Ericeira Comunidade site, doing my part to spread the word. I'm just going to have a little sip of tea. No, I'm not. That's passed. My need for tea hasn't passed, but I thought it was more urgent than I subsequently realized. Warning, the pine caterpillars have arrived early this year. So always a little bit of a worry here in Portugal, the processionary caterpillars. And this is a real danger to children and pets, okay? And as you can see, I won't read out the whole thing, just in case somebody is having their breakfast. And it's a little bit grisly. Suffice to say, extremely dangerous. And I've had a lucky escape, I have to say myself, out with the dogs, as you know, of a morning. And on one of our longer walks in the morning, was walking through the verge by the side of the road, near some pine trees. And I saw a little moving column on the ground, and it was processionary caterpillars, and we'd walked over it, all three of us, me, Peggy Pooper and Jimmy Choo, had walked over it and not trodden on it, and the dogs weren't excited or interested by it, thankfully, because if your dog takes a little bite of those processionary caterpillars, I think the consequences can be quite catastrophic. Okay, and same with children. I know of people who have played with processionary caterpillars as kids, as you do, pick them up. Oh, they look exciting, don't they? Look, and they're in a little train. Very poisonous, and they're early apparently this year. So thank you for the heads up on that. I think if you search processionary caterpillars, specifically Portugal, you will get a lot of guides on what to do about them if you discover them, and the best ways to dispose of. Fire, I think, is the way, but councils often will come and dispose of them, and if not, private specialists. And there are some DIY methods as well, and some preventative measures that you can look up as well. Banding trees in a certain way, I think, is one of the methods. I don't know how effective it is. We may well talk about that next Monday, given it that it's a season and an early season for processionary caterpillars. Let's maybe talk to the oh, there isn't one next Monday. A week on Monday. Let's ask the head gardener, Lee McGrady, who might be tuned in this morning and already has his shirt off working in Lisbon today. He's enjoying the better weather, that's for sure, the warmer weather. Okay, so yeah, to come later on today, Portuguese election impact for expats with Michael Heron from 9. And we will we'll be asking those questions. What will it be like for expats who are already here and those who are thinking of making their lives here? And of course, when we talked to Gilda earlier on this week, she thought it was pretty much status quo. We have the same, the incumbent PM continues in his reign, and she thinks that it'll be business as usual. Oh, actually, while we're on that matter, there is another bit of news, and I'll see if I can find it quickly. Oh yeah, inspectors flee CEF. This is good to weave in here, the how the political changes reflect life on the ground for the civil servants and the civil service, and how that relates to migration and visas. So let me bring this onto the screen for you now. There's some interesting news in it for the Brits, actually, of particular interest to me. And let me bring it onto the screen so you can see it as well, and I will read it out. This is, interesting one. Inspectors flee CEF due to uncertainty as tens of thousands of Brits still high and dry. So if you are a high and dry Brit, you're not alone by the sound of this. And I think there is confusion among the Brits in Portugal because of the lack of resolution of what's gone on post-Brexit, only to be expected in many ways, but not, on a personal level. All of these things are suffered, aren't they, on a personal level and privately? So let me see if I can shed some light on that this morning. Thanks, Natasha Don. This article from yesterday's Portugal Resident. And I will have a little read of the first couple of paras there while I have a sip of my tea. Hold on just a moment. Ooh, it would be rude to suck on a rebusado at the moment, but I've got quite a good stock of those right now. Let me just share with you what I've got in the way of cough sweets. Let me just take that off the screen so you can see these a bit better. Currently being sucked in this household. These, what are they? These are Charbon, and these are Madeiran cough sweets. And I'm going to, this might be it. This might be as far as we go with a cough sweet special. But we love the Dr. Bayards, and that's where the whole yellow banana slug iconography comes from originally. But these are funch rebusados. These are fennel flavored from Madeira, aren't they, guys? A nice sound effect too. Ooh. If you eat those in a cinema, you'll be unpopular. And rebusados. I've not been to the cinema in Portugal 4 years, and I've not been to the cinema. Do people eat in a cinema and make a load of noise? Is that part of this culture? This might disappear on the green screen. These are rebusados Santo Onofre, and these are made of pine, actually. So they are I think it's Ceva de Pinheiro, those that come out in black and white because of the green screen. They're rather nice as well, pine flavored, almost like a toilet disinfectant for the throat. And good old Saint Javier, menthol and eucalyptus with laranja, with added laranja there. Very seasonal. So there you go. Not a Dr. Bayard to be seen. The kids get on those and nick them all. Might be a few in the car. Okay, so back to inspectors fleeing CEF. News in the tabloid, the Portuguese tabloid Correio da Manhã, is that inspectors attached to CEF, Portugal's, in case you didn't know, Portugal's Borders and Foreigners Agency, are fleeing the service to work for European counterpart Frontex. Sounds quite chilling, doesn't it? Sounds like one of those mega corporations, utility companies. What's that one? Blackstock or whatever it is, and you've got in the US there, that owns most things now, at home and abroad. Frontex may well be owned by that company that begins with Blackstock, Blackshire, whatever. The reason is the uncertainty swirling. Nice turn of phrase there, Natasha. The reason is the uncertainty swirling over what will be happening to CEF's workforce in the wake of its extinction, in inverted commas. Correio da Manhã puts the numbers leaving at 43 people. And from any workforce, it's quite a lot of people, isn't it? 43, having to re-recruit and then spread the current workload, which we know is stretched already, 9 of whom left in the last 2 months. So a steady decline in numbers at CEF. In that particular department anyway. The decree ordering the extinction of the service appeared in the government newspaper Diário da República I didn't know it was a government newspaper, but the name is a bit of a giveaway. How government is it? Is it like a government, mouthpiece? On November the 12th, giving 60 days for the transfer of policing competencies to be transferred to the nation's 3 other forces. I bet they were delighted to read that decree, weren't they? Oh, people at the PJ, that's the Justice Police, isn't it? The GNR and the PSP. So it's going to the police force, and the creation of the new Portuguese Agency for Migrations and Asylum, APMA. Then, earlier this month, Parliament approved a new decree extending the service's lifespan to June. So, yes, this was said to me a long time ago by a naval man. The order, counter-order, disorder. If you keep changing your mind, that's what happens. You've got to be clear, haven't you, in leadership? So we're probably at counter order, or are we at disorder because we already had orders before, if you see what I mean. But this hasn't held inspectors at their posts with the extension to June, particularly as CEF's reputation as an institution is apparently very respected by Frontex. Oh, I see. So the inspectors from CEF will feel welcomed, which they have intimated they may not feel if absorbed into police forces here. Oh, I see. Yeah, I can understand what that might be like. That change and then moving into alongside police force colleagues. The effects of this hemorrhaging are being felt, says CM. It's quite dramatic, isn't it? Suggesting these will be more on the criminal investigations side of the service. Okay. CM knows that the Central Directorate of Investigation has various teams with cases underway which are losing staff. CEF has not commented, and nor would they, I suppose, on this operational aspect. But there is another huge grey area, and this is for the post-Brexit Brits. There is another huge area in the performance or not of CEF at the moment, and this concerns the legalising of thousands of British residents post-Brexit. The dilemma faced by so many outlined in the resident story of 2 months ago appears barely to have moved forwards, with the collateral effect compromising other aspects of people's lives here. A new example coming to our attention, says Natasha, has been the one of family reunification in a special nation. I've got to play you that again. I'm going to make some videos of Warren's tunes, and there is, of course, one about reunification. A source for the British consulate advising on how to deal with this, the decision, for example, of an elderly British citizen to move to Portugal to be closer to his or her resident children, explains that under the terms of the withdrawal agreement, this can go ahead perfectly legally. The elderly relative would not need to apply for a visa and can stay beyond the 90 days allowed for visiting Britons. Isn't that good news? It applies to me, as the intention is to obtain residency under family reunification. But that said, the complication at the moment is that CEF will only process these requests when the anchor person, the British citizen resident in Portugal before January the 1st, 2021, has been issued with a new biometric residence card. And this is where the whole process falls down, because there's a real backlog on those, isn't there? Who of you Brits has your biometric residence card? CEF are severely delayed in getting this rolling. We don't know how long it's going to take CEF to deal with the thousands of applications for the new card, said the source. Colleagues at the embassy are in frequent contact with CEF at senior level, lobbying for the process to be accelerated. And of course, we talked to Chris Sainty, didn't we? Here, the ambassador. It was great early on in the Good Morning Portugal live stream. Lovely team at the British Consulate. So maybe we need to speak to them again soon. So the legality of situations like family reunification is hampered. One of those words that is often used in newspaper talk, but not in real life, like a bungled raid. And here, reunification hampered by the fact that anyone coming here to join their families will be without official papers, unable to register at local health centres for healthcare, etc., etc. Haven't seen The King and I for a long time. Where do they show musicals on the telly anymore? It used to be on a Saturday afternoon, didn't there, as an alternative to sport? Anyway, ramifications of CEF's position in a no man's land of uncertainty. Oh, that's going to be a chapter in my autobiography, The No Man's Land of Uncertainty. What a great 3 words that is, a 3-part phrase. No man's land of uncertainty is likely to continue creating problems on multiple fronts for many more months to come. Ooh, so sorry I don't have better news on that, but that is interesting, isn't it? What's going on at CEF, already stretched, and people leaving the agency there. Okay, let's get back to your comments. Michael is limbering up and will be joining us soon. We might bring him on early. There's no point in him sitting in the green room, is there? Let me just say a hello to a few people while he sips the last of his coffee, Cafe Cheirinho, I suspect, this morning. There, little snifter. We'll ask him about that. Or is he still off the booze, I wonder? Did we have that conversation? Was that Michael? He inspired me, and only till July now for me to go. Okay, Stephen Wright of the day, quote of the day. A friend of mine once sent me a postcard with a picture of the entire planet Earth taken from space. On the back it said, "Wish you were here." Very good. And George Carlin, I went to a bookstore and asked the saleswoman, "Where's the self-help section?" She said if she told me, it would defeat the purpose. Very good. One of George's milder comments on society there. Some of his searing analysis of America is quite spectacular, isn't it? We'll have to leave. I think we're beginning to doubt Thunder's commitment here, aren't we? Beginning to wonder what's going on here, Thunder. Is there something you're not telling us? We have to leave early again today. We'll definitely watch the replay later. Oh, okay. You're fine. Baldylocks saying good morning to you and to Moaz. Well done, guys, for being in so early this morning before the show even started. Bon dia, Carl from a wet Belfast, but only 9 sleeps till I'm in Portugal. Counting down with you. Fantastic. To the real Portuguese in the chat, can you properly decode what já chegamos a Madeira means? My mother used to say it when we all needed to be put in our place. So what is that like? It's like being sent to Coventry, maybe. Enough of you and off to Madeira with you, my boy, if you carry on like that. Is that the gist of it? It literally means we have arrived in Madeira. Okay, so maybe not. That's a fantastic local idiom, though. Let's see if Michael knows anything about that. But yes, Portuguese people in our audience, please let us know. 15 minutes completed yesterday. That's 32 this year. Not missed a day. Well done, Deagle, on learning Portuguese. Well done, mate. So, yeah, give us a bit. Give us a bit, Deagle. Bom dia, Gumpers. Feliz carta a todos. Missed my study goal ontem. Here we go. He changes from English to Portuguese mid-sentence. This is good. Missed my study goal ontem, mas tenho 25 minutos até agora hoje. So well done. So he's already done his 25 minutes today. Well done, mister. And it has to be said with a very derisory tone. Oh, okay. So we have arrived in Madeira then, have we? Sort of tone. I'm guessing that means we have reached somewhere where the rules are different, or things work in a different way. The Madeira threshold, possibly. You have crossed it. Wait till your father gets home. Remember, if Andre Ventura comes up today, he should be referred to as Ace Ventura pet detective. Okay, your feelings about Shega and Andre noted there, Eusebio. Bon dia from Porto. Jim's in Porto. He's at it now, Jim. Are you falling in love with Porto and you're staying there? Elaine Godfrey from the south. Good morning, Carl. And Kate's here as well. Good morning to you, Elaine, and to Kate. Deagle says to James, once you start counting recording, then you don't want to miss a day. It's true, isn't it? It's true for those target-oriented folks. I'm a bit like that with my booze. I'm set. You know, I'm not going to be drinking again till July, and God knows I've had a lot of opportunities. We were celebrating and remembering the passing of my stepfather yesterday, and he loved a gin and tonic, and it was very tempting to join in with my mum and Mrs. M to having a gin and tonic in his honour, but no, I didn't. I just threw a big rock into the river instead. Not in anger, but that's what he would have wanted. Bon dia todos. Feliz carta from Jean. Hello, Jean. How are you? And Elra's here as well. A rare bird is visiting our garden. Look at this. Regards, Carl. There is hope. Durante o mês de janeiro, o serviço. So, CEF News in the month of January. More than 22,500. I don't know what the rest of this means. This is at CEF meetings, isn't it? So we're talking about CEF meetings here. I'll tell you what, we'll come back because Michael will have a better grasp of that than me. I'm a rabbit in the headlights when I see that much Portuguese in one go, and it'll be painful to hear me translate that out loud. And thank you, Paul, for putting me in that situation. But that looks good. It's good. The UK date format it's the same, isn't it? Whether in the UK or US, it is 02/02/2022 today. And you can tell your grandchildren that you were here on that day in history as well. And maybe Eusebio will still be sending those in. Oh, back in 22/22, we did this. We called Andre Ace Ventura. Second day of quarantine, and Good Morning Portugal makes it easier. Well, we do our best here. Moaz, how you feeling? Bon dia, folks from Badi as well this morning in Iceland. I'm you know how it is when you think you've got something wrong and you don't help yourself. It is Iceland you're in, isn't it, Paddy? Today in Portuguese history, 1559, the Portuguese conquer Daman, India. Didn't know that. And obviously wasn't around at the time, despite rumours to the contrary. If anyone wants to read the entire post, you can reach me on the forum. Okay, and that's the entire post about the processionary caterpillars. The other wonderful news that James sent in, which I've now exciting. Oh, what's this? Which I've now lost. Is a post about the processionary caterpillars. That's me live. Suddenly, I sent the link to Michael for the show, and it starts up of its own accord, which is a bit disturbing in the background. But James has for us a National Geographic documentary, which looks absolutely beautiful. And I'm opening that up now so that I can tell you a little bit more about it. And I'll put the link to it. It's a Facebook link, but I'm sure if you search for it, National Geographic, spectacular aerial journey reveals Portugal as we've never seen it before. Cameras swoop along the world's longest pedestrian footbridge, etc. So there you go. And one comment that I see on Facebook is, thank you, Nunu, for sharing. This was shared by Traffa Tours and Transfers on Facebook. Thank you, Nunu, for this beautiful look at our dear Portugal. So that's well worth a look. And thank you, James. Anything you see like that, send it in and we'll share it with everybody. But that looks like one to watch later on today, or when you want to crank open the YouTube and have a little look at some special aerial photography of Portugal. Alpha, the Great Dane, had to have the tip of her tongue cut because of those caterpillars. Okay, it's serious, folks. So an early processionary caterpillar season. Get in touch with you, James. He is on that tag in the forum on Expats Portugal if you want to know more about the processionary caterpillars. And I imagine you've posted in the forum as well there, James. Good on you. Mark is here as well this morning. Good morning to you, Mark in Norfolk. And YouTube member, thank you, Mac007. I don't know if you heard my thanks before, but a wonderful day to you all. Cheers, Mac. And thank you for becoming a member. Other member, Thunderduck. Look at that. It is Duck Day, isn't it? 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. In poker, a pair of twos is called ducks. I don't play poker, but 2 is my favorite number, of course. And Thunderduck enjoying the day of ducks today there. And 22 is my favorite number. Some people put up bird boxes to attract natural predators to the processionary caterpillar, such as the great tit I'm so glad Michael's not on the screen with me at the moment when Eusebio's got me to read that out. Cuckoo and hoopoe. The hoopoe bird is amazing. Unfortunately, not ducks. Ducks would probably eat those bad boys, I suspect. Ducks are pretty good, aren't they, from a permacultural point of view, wandering around your garden and eating up slugs. One is the loneliest number. There is another. We're talking. There's a lot of autobiographical chapters coming up, and one is the loneliest number. Could be one of them, according to Three Dog Night. BlackRock was the name of the corporation I was trying to reach for. Thank you for that, Mac007. And guys, go to Sweet Mrs. M, Carl's wife YouTube channel. It's called Louisa Tanner Munson. Today's show was an interview with Rick Purcell, Humanity's Immune System, full of positive energy. Thank you, Moaz, for tuning in. She was delighted. Often, it's an early start for them when they have a conversation, Rick and Louisa. And often people watch on the replay. And they were delighted to have a few people, including you by the sound of it, chipping in. Frontex sounds like a decongestant brand. Or Brazier. Not many people say Brazier in this day and age, do they? I still do. And Frontex, I would say, sounds like, as well as a decongestant brand, could be a brand of brassiere. Are those caterpillars native to Portugal or an invasive species? We had a huge problem with invasive gypsy moth caterpillars in northeast US some years ago. I don't know. I'll let others answer that, because now, and it may well be Michael that can answer this, Michael Heron, Heronius Maximus, as I lovingly call him, from Avanlight this morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Carl. Good morning, everyone. I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well too. Yeah. Very good. Very good. And before I forget, after our many footballing conversations and me posting about Eusebio, because I was a bit embarrassed. I'm not up to speed on the great Eusebio. So I think I'd be forgiven for that, because top football fans would know who he is. But that story of the World Cup '66 is beautiful, isn't it? Which leads you into his kidnapping and bringing him over. Well, not kidnapping, but it's quite a story, isn't it? Him coming to Portugal to play football in the first place.
Yeah, it happened before. There's a I think I put in that exchange a link to the film, which is available on YouTube for free, called Ruth, and it's basically it tells the story of how Benfica managed to sign Eusebio, but they had to effectively smuggle him in to Portugal from Mozambique so that he wasn't signed by Sporting. And in order to do that, they had to give him a name, which was Ruth, like a sort of a secret code name. So that film is set in 60 and 61 and tells that story, which is phenomenal. It's a great film, so definitely worth watching for anyone who's a football fan or not. And you are forgiven, Carl, because I think he's a famous player, but like a lot of these footballers that plied their trade in the 50s and 60s, there isn't a lot of footage available, unfortunately.
Of course.
Probably a lot of his best performances and goals aren't we're not able to see it. But he was amazing. He was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and strikes me as a nice fella as well. That's always a lovely thing to report about.
Yeah, well, believe it or not, my grandfather used to know him. So my grandfather, when he lived in Lisbon in the 90s, he had coffee with Eusebio a couple of times, and he said he was a really nice man.
Yeah, a Trevor Brooking or a Michael Owen among players. There, it can't be said about all of them, can it? But so, and as you say, it's always great when there's like a footballing documentary that has appeal for everybody, because it would presumably focus on the human angle as much as the football.
Well, this is actually a feature film, so it's not a documentary. So this is actually a feature film with actors. Yeah, so it's a biographical account, but it's a fictional story that's very accurate and honest with the real story. But it's a feature film.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. And it goes by the name of Ruth, does it? Is that right?
Yeah.
Did you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
His code name to bring him into Portugal. How brilliant is that?
Yeah,
Thank you very much. So, and the other thing, I accused you of having a cafe cheirinho this morning, a little aguardente with your coffee. Are you off the booze at the moment?
Do you know what? I had a dry January, and I had a very small glass of wine at lunch yesterday, which I enjoyed. But I plan to continue my my no alcohol lifestyle, because I've had a great month, to be honest. It's been really good. I've lost a few kilos in weight and just feel a lot better and a lot healthier and have more energy. And I can just tell everything it's been a lot better in general. So I may go back to drinking. Well, I already have. I may continue with that or not. I haven't. It's actually my birthday tomorrow, so I'll probably have a drink tomorrow.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, but no, I've been enjoying it. I've been enjoying it, and you're still off the booze, right? Until July, you were saying?
Until July, yeah. I'm going to give it a year. And inspired by you. I need to say, please do not wish Michael a happy birthday in advance. We don't do that in Portugal.
No, no. It's Groundhog Day today, which is a great day to celebrate, and another amazing film with Bill Murray.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
And for anyone whose birthday is on the 3rd of February, it's always a great film, because the day he finally gets out of purgatory and the film ends is on the 3rd of February.
Not a spoiler.
Yeah. Well, if you haven't seen the film, you need to sort your life out.
You do, yeah, that's right. I wonder what else you'd put in that top 10. Let's encourage that from people this morning. So you need to see Groundhog Day. Not least because of the constant references, and that's often a reason to watch films, isn't it? If they keep being referred to, like Star Wars, I still, I own it and I've watched it, but I don't feel like I've really watched it. So I need to go back to that. And Will Thompson's often pumping me about that and saying, look, you've got to watch it. You've got to watch it. It's so sort of prescient and relevant to the times we're in as well. But it would be, wouldn't it? Any great story is always going to be relevant. So Star Wars and Groundhog Day. We've recommended Ruth. It's probably not in that top 10 of must-sees in your life. Anything else you would add to that list?
It's a difficult question. I mean, maybe we could ask people to recommend Portuguese language films, and they can be Brazilian or from other parts of the world. That might be interesting, because
let's split those in as
well. A lot of people will know City of God, which is a very famous Brazilian film.
Oh yes,
in the favelas, which won a lot of awards. But in terms of Portuguese films, there aren't many that I could even tell you about or recommend. So anyone that's got any recommendations, I personally would love to hear them, and I'm sure other people would as well.
Good call. So Ask Anything About Portugal Wednesday with Michael Heron. We're going to have a nice leisurely hour, and we're also going to look at the election results, which I'm sure Michael will have a view on. I've got a great TikTok video to play you, which is something of a satirical analysis of what went on as well. So anything you want to ask at all, if you want to talk about Portuguese films, recommend one. If you want to broaden it to those top 10 films you should see that are iconic and cultural references, like Groundhog Day, do pop those in as well. Let's say a few more hellos this morning, and bon dia to all Carl's disciples. Now, it's interesting that Gary should say that on a day like today when Michael's here, because there was, of course, an attempted coup. Which I don't like to talk about, but it's the elephant in the room.
He still talks about it. I think that affected you psychologically. That was like months ago now.
I got to watch me back. I'm keeping him close for what we're about to receive. Serves us right, absolutely.
Would I be Judas then?
No, certainly. Well, that remains to be seen, Michael. La Mundial Alegria de Tourist Amsterdam. So Matty's back. Oh, look at this. The miracle has happened. They are busy fixing my heating. So he's left Amsterdam anyway, but now they're fixed. Maybe that's all it took. You needed to leave your flat and no longer need the heating, and then they go and fix it. A bit of Murphy's Law in there, in the works. Did you know the answer to this, Michael, about the processionary caterpillars, and have you encountered them?
Are these the ones that are poisonous or no?
Yeah, I was going to say deeply poisonous, but highly toxic to pets.
Well, when I used to live in Aroeira, mate, I remember we discovered them in our garden, and I initially, didn't think anything of it, but then soon discovered that they were extremely poisonous, and my son was happily trying to pick them up off the trees and freaked out, as you can imagine. So thankfully nothing happened. Be careful, people, because it's a serious thing. It sounds innocuous, but it really isn't.
Well, they're so pretty, aren't they? And they're so cute the way they do a conga around your pine trees. So it can be fatal. Watch out for those. And if you see them, get it dealt with, and keep your kids and pets away from them. No natural predators for the gypsy moths there, by the sound of it, in northeast US. They deforested mega acres of forest. Eventually, they overpopulated, and a virus mostly killed them all off. It's a
Wow.
bit chilly, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mrs. M's here. Bon dia
Good
from
morning, Mrs. M.
SCB. You've brought the girls to the yard, I think, Michael. Is the drought a big worry to Portugal as much as it
Yes.
is in the UK? So
Yeah.
reservoirs are 50% in UK. What's your view on this then, Michael?
Well, we've had the driest January, one of the driest Januaries ever, and February looks like the first week of February is going to be very dry as well. So yeah, is a big concern. I mean, there seems to be this subject. This subject seems to come up quite often, not necessarily at this time of year, but often, especially in the summer, because typically from May until September, you don't tend to get a lot of rainfall either. So it seems to be a problem because the reservoirs don't seem to be able to adapt to the rain flow throughout the year. So they're either brimming full and overspilling in the March and April months, or they're completely dry. So it's an infrastructure problem that I hope one day will be fixed.
Yes, and it's news in from Garvo as well this morning. There's a Facebook link for you there. He's sent in the message this morning. Urgent news item concerning water shortages. I was shocked to see the difference between the video I did just before Christmas of the rivers Azer Alga and the photos John took the other day. People are going to have to think about water very seriously. This is one of the bigger rivers of Portugal. I think it needs to be mentioned. The slipway is visible in both shots. So he sent me a video, so I'll pop that up and play that a little bit later. We'll come back to that. And it's beautiful footage actually of the rivers there in its own right. But yeah, a good point that's being made by Garbo there and about the water shortages. Okay, so let's go back. Let's scroll back up and see what's being asked of us. But let's get cracking then with this election coverage. Michael, what did you make of the result?
Well, maybe it's worth giving a little bit of context. So there was, well, what people need to understand is that this was a snap election. So this wasn't an election that happened because the 4-year mandate of the government had come to an end. It was triggered in December after a long-running dispute between Costa's minority government and its allies in the Portuguese Communist Party and the Left Bloc. And it essentially broke down, or negotiations broke down, over approving the state budget for 2022. So that's what caused this snap election to need to take place last Sunday on the 31st of January. Before the election, it would be fair to say there was a lot of concern that whoever won wouldn't be able to form a majority to lead a new government or existing government, because there wasn't any guarantee that could happen because of this divisive situation that had happened. And we were worried because of what's been happening in Spain the last few years, where they've repeatedly had to have snap elections. In fact, until the current government came into power, there were, I think, 5 or 6 different snap elections. So essentially, what happened was that Costa won, so defied all the odds. All the opinion polls were saying that he wasn't going to win. So it was an outright majority win for the ruling centre-left. And they achieved more than 13 percentage points over the PSD and consecrated Chega as now being the third political force in Parliament. So 41.7% of the vote was achieved, and this is the second biggest absolute majority in the history of the Socialist Party after José Sócrates in 2005. And the consensus is that this government should be in place by the 3rd week of February, so around the 20th of February. Now, what does all that mean for expats? What does that mean for Portuguese people and the economy in general? Well, when I speak to investors, they see it as a positive result because we really need a stable government in Portugal in order to access the 16.6 billion euro package of EU pandemic recovery aid. And in order to have access to that, we needed to have a stable government and be able to agree and vote on what's needed, and in order to channel those funds into projects to boost economic growth. So whatever your political orientations are, which we probably shouldn't go into because that's everyone's own private business. The fact that we do have a stable government is really important for the economy and well-being of the country. The only concern that some people have is because Costa and his party are strictly speaking not a socialist party, really. They're sort of middle left, or sort of even verging towards the right. There's a bit of concern that without this allied bloc of the left and the Communist Party that happened previously, that may have forced him and the government to not make all the decisions and mandates he'd have wanted to with an absolute majority, which he now will be able to. We will see what his political agenda really is. It will be more apparent in this second term than it was in the previous one. So that's the only concern that some people have. They're not sure quite what's going to happen. But I think in general, we can be positive about it, mainly, and I think expats can be positive about it, knowing that we have a stable government for another 4 years, because there was a lot of concern that this wouldn't happen, that we would have to have another snap election and that there wouldn't be a majority. So that,
and the media all over Europe, actually all over the world, seem to be very consistent in not being able to call the right results. It's a pattern, isn't it now?
Yes.
And I think the most accurate reporting, as it turned out, was from the exit polls, wasn't it? The exit poll news was quite a good reflection of what actually happened. Yeah. Whereas, as I think you said earlier on, they called it wrong. They got it wrong earlier on.
Everyone got it wrong. Yeah,
people were suspicious and thinking that this would be further chaos. But I suppose in terms of stability, it's good. If it's not your political flavour, it's not so great. But you make a good point about stability. And the continuation, of course, because it's the incumbent team, really, in many ways, isn't it? And the same PM. So it'll be a continuation of the same policies we have got to know and love.
And, he's Costa's committed already to increasing the minimum wage in Portugal. He wants it to be €1,000 by 2026, I think. So that's positive. Because at the moment I think it's 700. So there's a lot of positives, and we have to look back at the previous years that he's been in government. They've been very positive. I mean, the way that Portugal has dealt largely with the pandemic has been very successful. Portugal has the second highest number of vaccinations per capita of any country in the world. The economic growth was strong and sustainable throughout the mid 2010s. So I think we can be positive that's going to continue, but only time will tell. I mean, who trusts politicians these days, right? No more so than in our own country, Carl. So I think we can be grateful at least that we have someone in power that is trusted. I think that's the most important thing.
What do you make of third place then? Because certainly a showing for what variously described as the extreme, or the unheard and the disenfranchised, or the emotional voting that's happening in third place, bringing Chega the biggest amount of votes they've had, and a third place. But within the scheme of things, perhaps not such a worry. No. I get it. I understand that people are worried by such outpourings of the sorts of things that are being said and are associated with the party. But in terms of power, I don't think it's anything to be feared, especially, is it? And in a way,
no. And I think we've seen this trend. We've seen this trend and potential threat in other countries in Europe. It's populist parties like this are going to emerge when they see opportunities to swing voters in situations like this. So I don't think it's anything to be overly concerned about. But let's see what happens. Let's see how the next 4 years progress. But I think the main thing was that we're not going to be in a situation where what's happened in Spain, because that would have been a disaster, and that would have really put a lot of investors off coming to Portugal if that had happened, because of the uncertainty.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about the golden visa as well in this. But before we go there, I mean, I would agree with everything you said, and also for anybody who's looking for a lot of progressive change, that's not going to be happening, is it? This is very centrist, stable stuff. And for anybody wishing for the ballot box to be the herald of some major changes in society, I can't see that happening here, or with this new regime.
No, but I think they're gonna focus on the economy, trying to reduce the unemployment rate and improve healthcare for sure, and infrastructure, and continue down that path. And let's see. Politics is a very unpredictable landscape, as we all know. So who knows? Who
So,
knows?
so and the most vociferous opponents of the golden visa have, by some analysis, have been hoist on their own petard. It was Left Bloc, wasn't it, and possibly some of the communist representatives who just didn't like what was happening with the golden visa, and I've got some sympathy with that.
Yeah,
they were the voice for limiting and transforming it, but they've dropped in popularity and representation, haven't they? So it's very likely it will continue.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the elephant in the room, and what probably the left were arguing, that has been negative about the golden visa, is the lack of affordable housing for the everyday Portuguese citizen. So there needs to be, that situation needs to be addressed and balanced, though, with enabling foreigners to move to Portugal from outside the EU. I mean, the D7 visa does effectively ensure the golden visa. I mean, unless you want to invest and buy a property in Portugal and not have to live in the country, so just as an investment and be able to come and go 7 days a year in the first year, I think it is, and then 14 days in a year in the subsequent years. It's
not much of a commitment. Not much of a commitment.
But if you're looking to physically move to Portugal, then you don't need a golden visa. You can easily get a D7 visa, the cost of which is fractional. And you don't even have to buy a property straight away. You can rent and then decide where you want to live. So I think that flexibility is going to be there. And hopefully that will ensure that the number of people buying properties from abroad doesn't affect the real estate market in a negative way for the everyday Portuguese. But it's a very difficult situation now, because in order to build sufficient affordable housing for people, it's going to be very, very difficult now. Once you've opened that that box, then it's difficult to go back. So let's see.
Clear, balanced, and considered guest, Mr. Heron here.
That's very generous. That's very generous. I don't think Louisa hasn't seen me in previous podcasts.
Lovely to hear you again. And as we might expect, Prof has got some analysis and insight to share with us. Thank you for this, Prof Eusebio. The centre ground is very much further to the left in Portugal than in the UK and USA. Exactly. So PS are the centre ground, but they're social democrats. I'll play that video in a minute.
Much like, for those of the UK, much like Labour under Tony Blair. I think it's a very good comparison.
It is a good comparison. Danger with Chega is A, they may now pull the PSD to the right, and B, they get to platform their racist views from the pulpit of the Assemblea da República. And Costa would get thrown out of the UK Labour Party these days. And can you comment on the mold problem? Oh, sorry, that's not in politics. That's in houses, I think. So we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that as a separate issue. Always happy to talk about mold.
Always. We've spoken about it before.
Mrs. M will chip in with that. But let's play this video. So add a little bit of texture and humor to the political debate this morning. Check this out.
Hi, I'm Josh from the New York Times. I'm writing a piece on Portugal's general election. I'm trying to understand how it went. So the socialists won. Congrats and wow. Are you okay? Do you want to send troops? I'm in a socialist country in Southern Europe, like North Korea for people with a mustache. Oh, the socialists aren't really socialists. What are they then? Moderate social democrats, But wait, if they're social democrats and not socialists, why don't they join the losing social democrat party? Oh, the social democrats are now really social democrats, of course. So where would you put them on the spectrum? Center-right makes sense, of course. I mean, social democracy, like state-owned companies, welfare state, market regulation, it all sounds very right-wingy to me. But okay, I read that the liberals are skyrocketing. The liberals, I know, we have our own. They're always talking their asses off on CNN. They're obviously left. No, your liberals are right-wing? God. So let me guess, your communists are not really communists. Oh, they are. So why are they in parliament? Shouldn't they be plotting the mass execution of landlords? Oh, of course, they backed the previous non-socialist government. Think it supports bourgeois democracy. Right, what's the deal with Chega? I looked it up, it means enough, but enough of what? Socialism? If the Socialist Party is not socialist, that doesn't make sense. One last thing, there's this guy, Chicão. I had high hopes for this guy, super charismatic. Forbes wrote an article on him, and the guy literally leads the Popular Party. I mean, that's a party which is popular. I bet he had a lot of support. How did it go? 0 seats. Listen, let me call you back. I think I'll write about Russia. You know, Putin, guy's mad, and so.
I think that's great.
Amazing.
I think it is hard for the American political mindset to decipher what's going on here. And you know, like that, I'll have to call you back. What? Socialism? Do you need help? Do we send troops? And is it like North Korea for people with moustaches? I think it's hilarious. So a little bit of decoding to do. I think that's great. I can forward that to you. Actually, I'll stick it in our show notes today. But yeah, and then it's full of seeming contradictions there. The Popular Party, it didn't get in, not very popular as it turns out. No votes. So there you go. Anything you want to add to the political and to the post-election chat that we're having today?
Not really. I mean, I'm just hoping that this year is going to be the fresh start that we've all been longing for after 2 years of COVID. And I'm optimistic. I really am. I mean, I was really worried. Not that Costa wouldn't win, but I was worried that there wouldn't be an absolute majority, and that whoever won wouldn't be able to form a government, and that we would be in this situation where we would have to have another snap election and another snap election, and no state budget approved, and investors pulling out of projects, and it would have been a disaster. Honestly, like, we've really dodged the bullet. I cannot stress enough how positive this is for Portugal, regardless of your political views.
Yeah, okay. So the Popular Party wasn't popular, and the Enough Party didn't get enough. The great questions coming in actually about this. How will the government solve labour shortages with lack of nurses, doctors, teachers, construction workers, and hospitality with such low wages? A great question, Bernard Gavin Lynch. And I imagine Costa was campaigning on this and making the right noises. As you said, he's raising the minimum wage. I mean, that's not going to apply to...
No. They've got a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of issues that need to be resolved. This is one of them. This is a very the nurses situation is really bad.
Yes, and this is brain drain stuff that's been going on for decades. What do we do about this?
Pay them more.
Yeah, you've got to pay them more, and you've got to make it more attractive to stay at home, haven't you? But it's habitual now, isn't it? It's almost within the Portuguese psyche to go and leave the country, isn't it, to better your prospects? It's almost
I think people in the UK, especially in London, will be shocked about how many nurses, are Portuguese. There's a huge number because the conditions are so much better in the UK. So believe it or not. It's a problem, and we need nurses. They do an amazing job. They save lives. It's a very difficult job. It's often historically been not a well paid profession, but they do an amazing job. Without them, we'd be in deep trouble. So I hope that is a priority.
Yep. Okay. The Social Democrats would be considered far left communists in the US. Lots of political translation going on here.
Need to be careful.
Love it. Not hard for many of us Americans. Many of us left the US specifically. Yeah, fair enough, Rebel Mama. I think you're an exception here. You usually are. Many of us left the US specifically because Portugal is a socialist country, and it's a constitutional matter, isn't it? Post the 70s. The constitution of Portugal is to be a socialist country. I think that's another hardwired thing for Portugal in terms of politics and how we roll here in Portugal. Regarding the need for housing, is there any effort being made to turn all the vacant housing into usable, affordable units? I'm not aware of anything specific.
No, I don't know if there's the laws are very strict on this matter. So it's not like in other countries where after a determined period of time, if a house is proven to be vacant, and it doesn't exist here, unfortunately, and it's shocking because, you know, for example, on my drive to my son's school, I see, you know, rows of houses, and there's a number of them which are dilapidated, which are, you know, could potentially be beautiful, could be turned into affordable housing, as Phil rightly says, but the laws are very strict on that. So yeah, at the moment, I don't see that happening.
Okay. However, thank you for that, Phil. Rebel Mama thought, responding to Phil here, that she'd read recently but can't remember the details. They will be contacting owners and I suppose giving an ultimatum.
Let's hope so. I mean, there might
yeah,
be let's hope so, but I haven't seen any evidence of that.
And you hear a lot of this sort of talk, don't you? Populist, political ideas appealing to populist sensibilities just before an election, funnily enough, and then they disappear.
Yeah.
They're not talked about anymore after that.
No.
And it's definitely an issue here, isn't it? You know, there is so much housing stock, and apparently 50% of the housing stock is worth less than €50,000. Dilapidated, empty places, which you think, oh, you know, this could be amazing housing for people.
Yeah.
But a cultural thing again, not necessarily anything being done about it. We'll keep an eye on that, and you'll be the first to hear about it if we do see anything. And to illustrate what you were saying earlier on, and the brain drain, the skills drain from the country, 11,000 Portuguese nurses in the UK's NHS.
It's probably more than that. It's probably more than that. But yeah, it's incredible, really. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
Shout out to all the nurses. Yeah, the love being shown for the nurses. And yeah, you were right. Look, 11K is the number pre-Brexit and pre-mandate troubles as well. Of course, not a happy place to be in the NHS in the last few weeks. Okay, so mould then, Michael.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Diane. Can you comment?
It's a problem depending where you live in the country, right? So obviously, you know, a lot of properties are close to water, either lakes or rivers or the sea or estuaries in the case of Lisbon. So it's a problem. It causes high humidity, which creates mold. And all I can say is, it's one of these situations where, before considering buying somewhere, do your due diligence and find out if the property has, you know, or could be susceptible to mold, what that entails. I mean, the house I lived in, that you know, Carl, in Aroeira, we used to get mold, but we found that simply by keeping it ventilated, by keeping windows open as much as possible throughout the year, did actually make a big difference in reducing the mold. So ventilation is very, very important, and addressing it as soon as it happens, because if you let it, you know, permeate the property, then it can be a disaster. So yeah, it's an issue, and it's something you have to be really careful about, especially if you're buying, to make sure that you don't get caught out with that in the fine print.
If I can build on that, first thing, as Michael says, there is no escape, really. I mean, it's an environmental problem. It's, you know, it's not a societal problem. Exactly. You're more than likely to encounter some sort of mold difficulty because of the humidity and the temperature variation here in Portugal. And so, yeah, building on what you're saying there, a holy trinity. First thing, you know, if you can deal with a big part of it by the right selection of property, that's your first thing to do. The second thing is a cultural shift. You might not be used to airing and shuttering and heating and dehumidifying in the country that you're from. So you have to learn those skills. That's the second third. And then the third is what to do when it sets in, as it inevitably might, if you don't pick the right property and you're not up to speed on all the things you should do culturally that a Portuguese grandma would tell you. Talk to your Portuguese neighbour about it. She'll tell you how to air your house correctly.
That's it. That's great advice, mate. Absolutely. Definitely.
Yeah, white vinegar, and buy a dehumidifier for sure. Don't buy a humidifier, as I did, because I didn't get my Portuguese right. But get a dehumidifier. You're likely to invest in one of those, and obviously you've got to learn how to use it properly. And white vinegar, very cheap from the supermarket, but wiping it with white vinegar and not bleach. Bleach is not a good way of, it's a go-to for many people. And you would think, yes, those black spores, I'm going to bleach them out of my existence. White vinegar is much better. for dealing with the problem. Miraculous in many ways, and good for many other things around the home as well. So it should be in everybody's cleaning arsenal. Okay, good morning, everyone, from Gemini. I hope that was useful on the mold. Let us know if you want to know any more on that. It's a perennial. Dry January for Deagle as well. And now it's no bread Feb. Could you imagine doing that, Michael, in Portugal, giving up bread?
Yeah, I don't think that would work. I don't think that would work. I mean, to be fair, I have noticed that last month I've reduced my carb intake a little bit, and I've been eating less bread, and I think there's definitely benefits to it. But I mean, the tosta in the morning is the. I mean,
just your papa secos and your pão de avó, it's delicious. So I mean, I can imagine you being a little bit more careful, but getting rid of it. But I understand the reasons. You know, the difference.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, the difference between a bowl of pasta or a load of bread and a bowl of sugar is half an hour, isn't it? It all turns to sugar. It's all carbs.
Yeah.
It's all sort of empty food, really, but so delicious and such a part of the culture here as well. That's the other thing. Not unlike the booze. But good luck with that, Deagle. Let us know how that goes. Moaz, enjoyed the show, Mrs. M. Your show today was great. Thank you for introducing us to Rick Purcell. Okay. Oh, do excuse me. Things coming in. We have this video now to play from Garvo, who was, as we said earlier, concerned about water levels.
The drought.
Peaceful central Portugal there, where I think that's where the Alvaiazara. Oh, is that what he? Let me just read exactly what he said. One of the rivers was the Alge, Alge. Oh, the Zezer, I beg your pardon. The river Zezer and the Alge, where they meet. Surprised later to see photographs from Brother John, who sounds like a monk now, but Garvo's Brother John, who
like a monk.
and alarmingly lower levels compared to that video that Garvo took there. So save your water, folks, and we'll be covering that in a couple of weeks' time on the gardening show. How to make sure you don't how all the water doesn't evaporate from your plants. Better watering techniques and saving water, grey water, and those sorts of things. So we seriously will be having a look at that, not next Monday, but the Monday after. Other news in, Michael. We like to feature news from around the country. We've looked at the Vargosh Metal Fest that's been happening in July. This one could work quite well for a company trip for us, maybe an outing of us. Good morning, people, heading to Fatima. It is, of course, the annual blessing of the helmets. What are you up to in September?
I think I'll be away then. Actually, I think I'll be away then. But Fatima's a wonderful place to visit any time of the year, really. It's a beautiful place. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you're away, some of the rest of us can go and get our helmets blessed at that occasion. So that's the 18th of December. A mecca for bikers there. Okay, what's this then? Let me just get rid of that off the screen there. In that case, it looks like your issue is not your back, but at the front. It's amazing where we go. From helmet blessing to stretching your stomach muscles and quadriceps there. Okay, well, fair enough. Thank you for that. Matty, I think giving a little bit of pain relief therapy there. Processionary caterpillar is native to the southern Mediterranean area, North Africa, and the Middle East and Southern Europe, but is creeping, obviously, due to in a procession due to climate change. At Gary Orgles, Portugal is always with droughts. It's the Iberian Peninsula after all. So maybe we shouldn't be getting our knickers in a twist unnecessarily. It's a normal thing to be happening here. But I think there are, it has been accentuated, hasn't it? Environmental experts say the place will turn to desert. You're saying this so calmly, El Rolinda.
That doesn't sound something we should be calm about.
This is where we live, and you say it's going to be turning to not turning into a dessert. Although that would be very Portuguese as well, wouldn't it? It's turning into a nice chocolate mousse somewhere in the next 50 years. Okay. A virgin gin and tonic would be a tonic. And that was, I think that's to do with our dry January efforts, isn't it? Carl, I've sent you a WhatsApp message. So yes, Gary, we featured that concerning water levels. You really want to see the difference between just before Christmas and Joe Johnson's photos the other day. Have you got Joe Johnson's photos for the comparison there, Garvo?
Yeah.
Yes, Baddy is in Iceland. Hey, Moaz, delighted that you found us. I met Rick 12 years ago. He's a fabulous coach and speaker about all things consciousness. Glad you enjoyed the show. She was doing that, I think, was it 6:30 this morning?
Wow.
Because Rick is over there in Bali. Lucky fella. A bit late to the party this morning. Bon dia, alegria. Hello to you, Cindy B. How's it going? And can't make a bloody Caesar here. Clamato juice is not available. That's a cocktail, I'm guessing, right? Rather than an overthrow of an empire or something.
Yeah.
You're looking well, so that's working for you. The dry January, I think, is
very
working
kind of you.
for
Thank
you.
you.
Yep. And I watched the movie on YouTube, great Portuguese movie. That'll be going back to Ruth. You heard the Eusebio story first on this day in Portuguese history. Yeah, thanks to you, Eusebio. And there you see him in the picture.
Nice.
There, fantastic. Brian Taylor's in. Thank you, Brian. I
Brian.
appreciate your support. Bon dia Gumpers. And no, I'm not going to read that out, but there you go. You can take that.
Thank
you can take
you,
that on a British and not Portuguese level there, can't
Yeah.
you? Bon dia Gumpers, Groundhog Day. It's PMQs in Westminster today, so that's appropriate. It's true, isn't it? I mean, that's not unfair to say that every week, you know, were there parties? I've apologized. It just, you wonder how. I don't know if you want to go there this morning.
Let's not go there.
Should we not do it? I got sent a lovely meme this morning. It said, "Can of worms do not open."
Nice.
And I think maybe you're right there. On another note, 1 week to go, and Coach Turner will be with us. Sam Wells is in from Australia. Good morning. Why is it that the Portuguese don't wish happy birthday in advance of actual birthdays? Tempting fate, I suppose, isn't it? Does the same apply to wishing a belated happy birthday? No, I suspect the Portuguese are fine about belated birthday wishes. It's just the advanced ones, isn't it, that they don't like to do. Builds the excitement as well, I think. You know, you want to say it, don't you? But you don't say it. Have you got a view on that, Michael? Why that might be?
Not really. No, I've no idea, to be honest. I guess just a preference thing, isn't it? But no, I haven't got a clue.
All right. Orfeo Negro, filmed in Rio. So there's a film recommendation. Don't know that one. Black Orpheus there, filmed in Rio. But I do know City of God. And the fantastic track from that, No Camino do Bem, City of God.
The soundtrack's amazing to that film.
It is really good, isn't it? Very, very good. Do you have to be vaccinated to go to Portugal? No, you don't, do you? You have to. It's all about the testing rather than your vaccination status. So officially vaccinated or with a negative test. Matty helping out there. Gypsy moth caterpillars also have those irritant hairs. Don't we all from time to time? Yeah. 1959, music by Jobim and Luis Bonfa. Amazing film, highly recommended. Thank you for that, Orfeo Negro film. I think you wrote that down, did you, Michael? So might report back. And F. Da Silva and thanking you. I feel the feedback there in the chat. Thanks everybody for helping out. It's a team effort on Ask Anything About Portugal Wednesday. Michael joining us, of course, every first Wednesday of the month. Bon dia from Nantes, Midnight Express. Classic movie, great classic movie, but not to be watched the night before leaving Turkey and locking eyes with immigration. It came to my mind when I got stopped by a Mexican cop, I have to say. The Midnight Express haunts you, doesn't it? But I have not been asked for my COVID-proof negative test as I'm not vaccinated anywhere on my trip from Amsterdam to Pombal to Germany and back to Amsterdam. So there you go. Those are the rules, but he hasn't been the subject of any checking there, F. Da Silva. That's Matty there. Morning, SW. I lived in Nantes, France in the late 1990s. An enchanting place. Nantes, enchanting. Enchanté. Had a bit of a drought experience. I guess that's a dry January, isn't it? Had a bit of a drought experience, California and all, you know. Okay, so used to it there. And I wonder if it's the same chilling prediction for California as Elra gave us for the Iberian Peninsula earlier on. Pam's here, and she'll be with us tomorrow, hopefully, on the webinar. Where to live in Portugal? I don't know if you've anything to add to this, Michael. It rolls on and on. I talk about the problem of San Martino de Porto syndrome, which is falling in love with the place you visit, and then you go to the next place and you fall in love with that, and on it goes. Not been that difficult for you. I mean, you love Lisbon, don't you, and the surrounding areas. Do you think you'll ever visit or go and live anywhere else in Portugal, or is it Lisbon for you all the way?
Yes, do you know what? I do like Porto. I think the only issue I have with the north is it rains a lot more, which is ironic because we're talking about droughts. But so I guess if the country did turn into a desert, you'd be safer in Porto. But no, I mean I do love the other parts of the country. I mean, what I always say to people is, and again, I think for Americans especially, this is particularly pertinent because they're used to driving huge distances. You know, you can get from one end of the country to the other in a few hours. So no matter where you live, as long as you've got a car, then everything is accessible. And you know, the trains are pretty good as well, and they're looking to get even better. So you know, I think wherever you decide to live, you're going to be able to access other parts of the country anyway. It just depends on the lifestyle you want, really. If you want the beach, then Silver Coast or Lisbon, Cascais, or the Algarve. But I think Lisbon, you get the best of everything. Anyway, we'll go back to this old debate. We could talk about it for.
It's fantastic. And you of course, you went head to head, didn't you, in the final? You were a finalist, weren't you?
I was in the final. Yeah. I was in the final.
Lost out to Central Portugal, which doesn't often get a look in, but it was a good presentation that won it, and I think we'll have to do that again this for 2022. And I'm going to give you the link if you want to book in for that webinar tomorrow night. Jerry will be doing a presentation. The current champion. He won best place to live in Portugal, and he was up in that final against Michael. It was a great evening, actually, talking about the relative merits of Lisbon and surrounding areas, and of course Central Portugal. Jerry, the winner on that occasion. We'll see what happens this year, and join us for tomorrow night's event, Where to Live in Portugal. Presentation from Jerry and the collective wisdom of the Ask Our Expats team. That link in the chat now. So for Senor da Silva, Jean says, when I travelled a month ago, they were really only interested in the test results. There you go. And there's a very efficient system, I believe, at Lisbon Airport for getting people with the right coloured bands on for the test results and so on, and getting people through. Works pretty well, doesn't it, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I think people have had different experiences, but my experience was very good. And this would have been right at the beginning of the process starting in December. Yeah. But my mother, when she came a couple of weeks later, she said it wasn't that efficient. But maybe it depends on the time of your flight, you know, how many passengers there are at any given moment at the airport when you land. So I think that can probably, you know, affect it. But in general, it's a good system, and you know, it works. I mean, what the one thing people should be aware of is, unlike, I don't know if it's still closed, but they closed access to arrivals. So back in the day, what I used to do to avoid the lengthy queue at the taxi rank at arrivals is that you would go up to departures and grab a taxi heading out. I think they blocked access to that. I don't know if it's still blocked. So just be aware that if you were used to doing that and calling an Uber, you may need to queue at the normal taxi rank, and it might take you a bit of time. Or, you know, use the metro or a bus. I mean, they work very well.
Nice hack. And the other thing to say, of course, is keep watching the news now, because everything was on hold about the possible relaxation of restrictions, because nobody was going to talk about that before the election, were they? They weren't going to get themselves into that.
No.
So it may be. Is there an amount of inertia? I mean, I imagine that Costa and his team would be straight back at it, but the government.
Well, he's got COVID. Did you hear this? Costa's got COVID.
Tested positive, isn't he? But you were saying there's a bit of a delay from when they get going. Is that right? So there's a dissolution and a reforming, and that takes.
Yeah, they're sworn in officially, I think, on the 20th of February or around that time. Yeah.
Okay, but business as usual, hopefully, notwithstanding his positive result, and there may be a change in restrictions because they can talk about it again now without affecting their prospects in the election.
Yeah. You'll probably wait until the 20th, and then it'll kick off. But let's see.
Okay. All right, Andrew, we won't. And then at that point, we went into all the analysis there, which was great this morning, looking at the impact for expats and Portuguese people, of course, as well. Bom dia todos from Antonio F. Jess is here. Project Frugal. Vinny Vengeance is here, everybody. Look, my job is hanging on by a thread in New Zealand. If it goes, I might be in Portugal by June. Interesting. Okay.
Nice.
A job-based dependency there, but freedom, either way, it's a win-win by the sound of it. You get to earn a little bit more, Vinny Vengeance, before your long-term plans kick in, or they might be brought forward a little bit if you get fired or let go of. I tested after getting home, though not required, and was negative, mostly to put my friends and family at ease and my own curiosity. Mold, ventilation, damp course. Don't put anything against the outside walls indoors. That's another good tip, isn't it? Because you will find the back of your furniture attracts that condensation, and a family heirloom might be ruined. Good call.
Clothes as well.
And clothes, yes, and people. In fact, don't put anything flat against any walls to allow airflow dehumidifiers. Very good. Track of the day. You might like this one, Michael. We get this from Capricorn 12 Chris every day. Olá, bom dia a todos. Faixa do Dia is the Central Line Nature Boy. Of course, the reworking of the classic, the standard. That many have performed, including Nat King Cole. I remember seeing them performing on Top of the Pops, playing a brass instrument called a serpent. Love jazz funk, and that is a jazz funk version of that. I suppose it's a jazz standard, isn't it? Nature Boy, normally a nice low tempo ballad. Done in a jazz.
Do you have an Expats Portugal playlist, Carl?
We do have. I'll send it to you so you can join the other old funkers on there. You're an honorary young funker among old funkers there, and I'll do that. I'll make a note for that. Okay. Perfect. Remold, maybe stopping building in brick and cement would work. Elra with another top comment there. Thanks, Elra. You're on form this morning. But there's some truth in that, isn't there? More breathable buildings, perhaps timber frame buildings, are obviously difficult in areas with fire risk, but
a lot cheaper. I mean, they have less of a life. I think 100 years is sort of how long they'll
and for every solution there's a problem, because if we use timber, we'll get wood eating bugs.
Lovely. Lovely.
But you can always put white vinegar once you've stir-fried those wood eating bugs. Bit of vinegar on them, delicious. No bread February as I devour a flaky croissant. It's not going to be happening a lot.
You're making me hungry.
Yes, indeed. Have you seen what's in a croissant? Because I'm attuned to this bread thing and I'm wanting to eat the best.
A lot of butter, mate.
And God knows what else.
Yeah. I mean, a good tip with a second or third day old croissant is don't throw it away. Just heat up a pan and just cut it in half. Put it in the pan. Don't put anything in the pan, and watch it toast beautifully because of all the butter being absorbed in the hot pan.
Get on. Okay. Follow him on Instagram for more food and cookery tips.
No, don't.
Rebel Mama, there are other materials and treatments to prevent that. Just saying this because here in Finland they have no issues and there is damp everywhere. Okay, that's interesting. I think it's a lot to do with this amazing thing that we love on the one hand, i.e. it starts at 2 degrees and it ends at 25 degrees some days, doesn't it? Not ends, but the high point. It's a lot to do with that, isn't it? It's a lot to do with the differential. I don't think you have the same differentials in Finland, but you're right. There are other countries that are dealing better with damp, for sure, and it's a cultural thing. And we've given you our best shots on that. Louisa, to Mrs. M from Rebel Mama, it's amazing how much white vinegar does. Bleach doesn't actually kill mold, but vinegar does, as you know. Very good. Also, when decorating, use antifungal paint. People loving the mouldy talk this morning. Brick and cement are all right as long as other good practices are used.
These are the niche subjects that you won't find anywhere else.
Absolutely. We won't steer away from it. We'll take it on the chin. Mold on the chin. My dry January started off a little damp, but it was Sauvignon Blanc. Thank you very much, Paul. Good morning to you. And read the drought. Our reservoir is closed, so they can't use it for the Bomberos water dropping planes, which is very concerning. My goodness, they're up there in the north even, where you say it rains and much more, Michael. It's dry. Rebel Mama, bleach takes the colour out, but doesn't kill it. Vinegar kills it off. Oh, my goodness. I wonder. Back problems are from the core and front muscles. We're mixing it up this morning. My short time with that is completely core related. And Andy, thank you for sending in the helmet blessing poster. Helmet blessing at Michael Heron Only Friends.
So it was a euphemism after all then.
Portugal needs to build desalination plants to sustain Algarve before it's too late. There's another. Yeah, I mean, given how well Portugal has adapted to sustainable power sources or complementary or alternative power sources with its Atlantic frontage. You'd think that desalination might be an option as well for this water problem, but it takes investment, doesn't it, and foresight?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of arable land in the Alentejo that could be used for all sorts of things. I mean, at one point it looked like the cannabis laws were going to be changed, and there was a huge, hurrah about that. So, let's see. But yeah, everything is there. This is what I say to people is that there's still so much more that Portugal can offer, but it just takes time. It takes time. It's only been really since 2009, 2010, or 2011 probably, that we've seen this real kind of increase in interest in Portugal from expats, from international companies, in improving. And then then it's like a cycle, isn't it? From that you get the investment in infrastructure, and then everything else follows after that. So there's still a lot that could be done. There are a lot of parts of the country. We've talked about Setúbal for a long time being a potential, another mega city. But the investment has to happen in the right places, and hopefully we'll see things like a new high-speed train connecting Lisbon to Porto in an hour. There's all these plans. The airport at Montijo, if it ever gets finished, God knows what's happening with that. So there's a lot that can still be done.
Well, you make a good point as ever, because you could read it as unwillingness or lack of vision, and that's not the case, is it? There are lots of people with great ideas in Portugal working behind the scenes, and it's like a building, isn't it? When a building gets commissioned or thought of, and they go to build it, it takes weeks, if not months, for anything to appear to be happening. The foundations are being dug and put in, and you're thinking nothing's happening here. And then once the foundations are in, up it goes, and it's transformed overnight almost.
Lisbon was transformed in a couple of years, because I arrived in 2014, and then all of this restoration, work happened, and the mayor of Lisbon at the time said, we're not going to do it in stages. We're just going to do everything at the same time. It's going to be done in a year, 2 years. And everyone was like, you're crazy. And then they did it. And it was like, wow, everything's sorted now. So, and the same with new metro stations, the same with, the works needed on the bridge, on the Cinco del Real bridge. So, like you said, these things just take time. I mean, and if you ever see the Minister of Tourism speaking, he's this young guy, really innovative. I mean, he is very much the driving force behind the tourist boom that happened in Portugal, sort of in the middle of the 2010s. And there's a lot of positive things happening. So you need people to drive this change, obviously, but you need investment, and you need demand and need for these things to happen, right? And like you said, it's not a lack of vision. It's just takes time.
It takes time. We can do it, folks. And believe. I just downloaded my EU vaccination certificate. The site was in Finnish. So another challenge there, but only took a few tries. Another step towards getting to Portugal. Well done, Suze. Rise of Chega from Paulo Simoes this morning. Good morning, Paulo. And the Liberals, different kind of Liberals to the American ones, was predictable. Basically, the historical CDS lost the charisma. And all the far right that were there moved to Chega. Okay, so it was a conglomeration, wasn't it, rather than a boost necessarily. Also, PSD was a mixed party with Social Democrats mixed with Liberals and far right guys. All the orphan Liberals at PSD moved to IL. That's Liberal Initiative, and the others moved to Chega. Okay, so musical chairs rather than a dramatic growth, we can read that as, with some relief possibly. I need to get back to Portugal. Been in the UK for 2 days only. I'm already having withdrawal symptoms. Paolo, you're all the best, Chris. When will we see you again? Probably next weekend, right? The parties on the left paid the price for not having collaborated more with the Socialist Party in improving the budget. The less committed left-wing voters just moved to PS because of that. So analysis from Paolo there. After 4 years of Trump, some of the US shudder when Chega is mentioned, and I suspect you include yourself in that, Rebel Mama. I need Joe's permission to send the pictures, or she can send them in herself if she's watching. Very dramatic difference from my video. So we'll return to that. I'm sure that's not going to go away anytime soon, so let's keep an eye on that. Water levels here in Portugal. A Bloody Mary is made with tomato juice. A Bloody Caesar. And we do have another cocktail video. Talking of Garvo, talking of cocktails, Ben, the mixologist, we've got a video coming up. Might play that tomorrow on Feel Good Friday.
Amazing.
We might wait until the next food show with Owen. A Bloody Caesar is much the same, but made with Clamato juice tomato and clam juice. Clam juice just does not sound at all appetizing to me.
No.
Also has Worcestershire, Tabasco, and celery salt on the rim. A big celery stalk. It's a very suggestive sounding cocktail, that, isn't it? Have you ever had a Bloody Caesar?
Oh my God, no.
I haven't.
I don't tend to have one anytime soon. If I go back to drinking, that will not. Well, I mean, clam juice. If the clams are fresh, I guess why not?
You're not going to ask me. You're not going to catch me asking for salt on the rim in a bar either. Jeff Jackson, so true. Like a collective PTSD after those 4 years. With Trump there. Morning, Jeff. Sorry that you join us to experience a little of a PTSD. Apologies for that. A little horseradish is nice. What? Just when you thought.
Wow.
The Worcestershire sauce, Tabasco, celery salt.
That must be one hell of a hangover that people are having to need to sort it out with that. Wow.
and then put a full English breakfast in. Oh, Michael, full English breakfast. Shout out to Waves cafe restaurant in the Silver Coast. When you come here, mate, I could take you some.
Silver Coast. Come on, I need Lisbon or Cascais. There's got to be somewhere.
You'll have to come over here and have a full English. It was really good. Good bacon. Kind of okay. So the sausages could have been better, but my eldest, it brought back memories.
You just ruined it for me, mate. You just ruined it.
Okay, all right. Carry on with the search for the perfect full English in Lisbon. We had huge water shortages in Cape Town in 2017. I even shot a vid with some water-saving tips at the time. Francis, let us have that. They'll be ubiquitous, universal, won't they? It was a very difficult time, but now we're much better with usage after that experience. Yes. Often takes human beings to have to suffer something, doesn't it, to actually get around to dealing with it. Complete PTSD. He was the icing of the cake for those of us already traumatized by the US law. Laughing about it now. Good to see that, Rebel Mama. Andy, I do feel really bad for you. I think we need to feel really bad for each other. Oh, come on, guys. Don't go to the dark side this morning. It's only UK politics we're talking about. Everything will change in a few weeks. You believe me, it will. And you'll have someone else to complain about soon. Bon dia todos from Ubi Omenum. And Paolo, yes, lol. I heard Venture on the radio. They were having clips from each leader after the election. His tone of voice was chilling. I also watched him in debate, and I don't trust that guy. That is right, says Paolo. Question for you, for us, Michael. A couple of minutes to go. My son is coming next week, and his state in the US doesn't give digital cards for vax. Can we get in restaurants in Lisbon still? That's still operational, isn't it? The passports.
Only if it has. So if the restaurant has a terrace and you're willing to sit outside, you don't need to show a vaccine certificate. But if you are wanting to eat inside, they're still asking for it. I know this because yesterday they asked me. When I ate in a restaurant inside. So yeah, unfortunately, they are still asking for it. But I'm guessing your son is an adult. If he was a child, then no.
Yeah, under 12s are fine, aren't they? And you can go in.
I think under 18. I think under 18.
Under 18s, you can get a takeaway as well. You can go and sit and wait for a takeaway.
Yeah. That's right. We don't mind you. Yeah, we don't mind you infecting our other takeaway guests, but not the sitting down, not the sitting down patrons. That they can't be infected.
So yeah, sit outside if you as is the catch-all, or pretend to be under 18 or 12. Groundhog Day, no, don't do that. I'm not suggesting you break the law or the rules. Groundhog Day here in Icehole, PA, from Ubi there. And an airport hack from Andy, who's a regular user there. Mrs. Gilchrist has a colleague whose husband is doing discounted airport runs. I'll find out more. Yes, we need that recommendation. Andy, flying out of Gatwick last week, gate 579. Is that a joke or is that for real? They checked our paperwork at the top of the escalator and then again at the bottom. In total, they checked us 4 times. Yeah. Still crazy. There's a Gatwick report for you for people flying to UK. Is customs passport control for third country national quicker in Porto than in Lisbon? Can anyone answer that, please, this morning before we go? Granite with Limeworks as well. That's a good northern and central thing, isn't it? Look at the old buildings and stop putting cement everywhere. Cement doesn't let the wall breathe. Stone buildings, woodwork in Portugal, but it's hugely expensive. Yeah, and they can just throw up these rebar and concrete buildings, can't they, very quickly. I make eggs Benedict with croissant instead of English muffin. Yum, another food tip there. Thank you for that. And another use of an old croissant, possibly. Thanks, guys. No mold here. But heated aircon. Glad that Hupos eat caterpillars too, as we've loads of them. And they are beautiful. They're amazing. The Hupos are really beautiful, aren't they? A type of bird, Matty. And we will, I'll get a picture up of that for tomorrow. Maybe you might have to remind me. And Elra to Eusebio, it's used to show our indignation or reproval. That is the Madeira comment that we do go full circle as we conclude the show this morning in the company of Michael Heron. Hupos are amazing birds. Look them up. And this may be more. Yes, not sure. Maybe Madeira wasn't as orderly as the mainland. And when something bad happened, people would use that expression. Just speculation, though. So not being sent.
Coventry.
Shawshank. Yeah, sorry about that. Shawshank, red to Andy, and a good slogan for a move to Portugal. Get busy living or get busy dying. Yes, that's a chilling, but maybe put a spring in your step if you're making your move here. We must have at least 40 nests around the land, and if they are just such funky birds. That's a good description. You would have heard them if you didn't see them, Matty. Yes, and a lovely call. I think we should end it there because you've probably got to go off to work, haven't you, Michael?
Yeah, unfortunately, back to work. But it's been a wonderful, as always, every month to take an hour out of the day and chat to you all. And Andrew, that is extremely generous of you, mate. 100%. I will take you up on that.
There you go. But only if you've got a nice sausage for Michael, I think. Yeah. Suffice to say. Take great care, Michael. Love to the family, and we'll see you next month. Ciao, ciao. And thank you for your excellent political analysis this morning.
Ciao, ciao. Welcome. Thank you.
All right, bye, mate. There he goes. Off goes Heronius Maximus into the day. I did my best to get him to the helmet blessing, but didn't seem very interested in that. Let's see. Have we got any more photos from you? We do. I might have to carry these over till tomorrow. We've got the link to the Cape Town drought water saving tips. I need to put that in the comments. William, see you later. And Andy, I will carry that movie forward till tomorrow. So let's get the water saving video from Francis into the comments. That reminds me of another feature, but I can't do that right now. Yeah, Bloody Mary is best with Worcestershire sauce, fresh horseradish in a cocktail. Ben, are you ready with that one? Because you're going to have to go out and find Worcestershire sauce and fresh horseradish. That's not going to be an easy one to do, is it? You have to get to the expat store for that. Large stalk of celery and olives. It is the breakfast of champions. It is. That's a meal, really, isn't it? As much as it is a cocktail. You don't get a hangover from a Bloody Caesar. It's the cure for one, isn't it? And they are edgier than a Bloody Mary. Didn't think I'd like it either, but surprisingly refreshing. Rebel Mama, I thought I heard somewhere that Vax cards can be converted into a QR code, maybe an app. So hopefully that helps. I went to IKEA in Lisbon last week and I couldn't get any Swedish meatballs because of not having an EU Vax certificate. I have suffered that as well. I was consigned to the takeaway area and all I could get was a hot dog and a nice cinnamon roll. But it's just not the same, is it? When you've girded your loins for Swedish meatballs and you're turned away, you have to find a 12-year-old to send in. Jess, I did see that somewhere. We aren't keen on eating inside anyway. Still, perhaps we will do the takeout option. Yeah, there is a workaround for that, Rebel Mama, and have a great time with your son in Lisbon. Many places have outside seating here, though. Of course they do, and it's a great way to eat. Woohoo! We made it. William, see you soon, buddy. And obrigado for today from Baddy there. And Carl, show the picture. What picture, Andy? So Gilchrist has sent in a picture there. The picture? Oh, yes. What this, Andy, this is a bit like a what is this picture? So as Andy is requesting there, showing you the picture now. What is this? Captured by Andy yesterday, showing it as he requests. I don't know what you want to add to this, Andy. It looks like a great big zip in the sky, doesn't it? Talking of movies, it's the Truman Show. Is it the zip that he opens? I don't want to spoil it any more for you than I've already done. Yeah, so what is that? And what do you want to say about it, Andy? It is very beautiful. It looks like a hem, doesn't it, as well? One of those frilly hems you could put on the bottom of your kilt or your skirt. Sorry, I took a nap. Best feedback ever. Sorry, I took a nap during your live stream. And I read that out and just woke up. Vintage people do that sometimes. Yeah, power nap, I hope. And they all went into your subconscious. All the useful information today. That's my husband's jam for sure. I find him daily conked out somewhere, having a mindful power snooze, wishing I was on that plane. So, folks, it's him wishing that he was on a plane with chemtrail, contrail, condensation, whatever you call it, vapor trail. We used to call them, didn't we, back in the day? Before we people had more sinister agendas than that. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. See you tomorrow morning when we will talk to Wiley, our buyer's agent rep for the Cascais area, moving to Portugal Thursday. If you want help in Cascais and those suburbs around Cascais. And actually, if you want tips generally about buying property in Portugal, we're having a chat with Wiley in the morning, which will be great fun. She's fantastic. And in the evening, the webinar is Ask Our Expats. First Thursday of the month, always Ask Our Expats, but a special on where to live in Portugal presentation from Mr. Lawler. Jerry, see you in Portugal. Lawler will be with us tomorrow at 7:30 for the webinar. Of course, he always is, accompanied by the Ask Our Expats experts, talking from their respective parts of Portugal. Premium Plus Posse, see you at 9. And we will be talking Portuguese language and culture in an intimate environment where you can ask all those questions you're afraid to ask anywhere else, alongside one of our favorite commentators on the matter of Portuguese language and culture. So see you there. And of course, Feel Good Friday. We'll see you with the wonderful Jenny B, who'll give us an update on the Rainbow Guardians. So lots of fun for the rest of the week. Have a great Thursday. I'll see you tomorrow. Ciao for now.